How to fill out your documentation, so you can find the best place for your documentation. I mean, I'll still give you points as long as you just write the documentation, but if you want to get full points, the best, and you want to really contribute to the class exhibit, the most helpful thing you can do is inside of the repository, the XRPL repository, you want to open up the patterns folder. Then you want to go to the folder with your name on it. And then we want to open up this thing called documentation.tres. And this documentation.tres has text fields over here for the name of your pattern, your name, the context, like I'm making cookies. And you can also just like write this somewhere else. And this is like not an elegant place to type. So I would write this in a text file or a Word document and then just copy and paste in here. But so if you can fill in these fields right here, that'll be the most streamlined way to actually incorporate it into the exhibit. Because what I can show you is, I can show you what it looks like on the headset. If you give me like 10 minutes to strap into the metaverse. Let's see, we want to go to Oculus/casting, login. Whoops. Okay, let's go back home. I don't know how I thought it was where I wanted to be. I don't know why I'm lost. I really think it's so patronizing when websites are like, oh, you got lost. It's like, your fucking website didn't work. Sorry, I shouldn't curse on recording, but it's what's happening. It's kind of a crazy day. Cast? How do I get to the cast? Casting. How about the one web page that I need to go to? Cast to a computer. Oculus.com/casting. Log in. This should be this hard. Okay, great. Continue, that's fine. Quit this. Casting. Casting? Oh, it's in the camera. And my headset's not connected to the internet because that's my problem. So I'm gonna make a hotspot. Thank you for your patience. We are getting there. Wi-Fi. Connected. Okay, let's try it again. We can though. We definitely can. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought. Okay, on the internet now. Great, the display fell asleep. So exciting. Cast. I am connected to the internet. It's not true. Why am I lying? Connect. Okay, there we go. Hello. All right. Go to this button. Hit this button. Hit next. Computer. Next. Okay. Hello. Okay, so here's the view from the headset, from inside the headset. And this is what our exhibit app looks like right now. So when we launch it, we have these bubbles that are floating around the room, and each bubble is going to be one of your own patterns. So this is the example of the My Fun pattern. I have to obviously do some work to make the titles fit inside of the bubbles, but in theory, when you touch the bubbles, you then go inside them and you travel to your pattern. And so here's my cubes are cool fun pattern. And this is like the scene that has my particular pattern in it. I'm still trying to figure out, these other bubbles are like the connected patterns, and this bubble takes you back home. This bubble, hello. I don't know where the hands went, so I have to work on that. But basically, like the reason why we're sort of inputting them this way into Godot is so that we can easily like translate them into code to like load them in properly in the XR exhibit. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. A little bit? Any questions about these bubbles? Cool. Sweet. Later in the day, I'll show you guys how to actually like port the stuff from Godot to the headset, so you can test changes on it. We're gonna try and leave a station set up for you just down the hall in 509, where you can do that for most of the week. Let's just go ahead. I think what we should do is we should start doing some working time. Let me just turn this off. I would like to, I started checking in with each of you in your, with your projects last week. I want to continue those check-ins and offer any thoughts and suggestions. I also want to make sure that we know how to get the latest and greatest version of the projects from GitHub, okay? So if you're trying to get them from GitHub, right, what you want to do is go to GitHub. If we have already, I'll say cleaned up, commit to main, and push to origin. So if you have already cloned the repository on your computer, you should see it up here, this XR pattern language repository, right? And then what you can do is just fetch from origin, and you should be able to pull all the latest changes. Is anybody trying to do that and having trouble doing that? When I go around, I'll check in with each of you and make sure you can do this. But you want to fetch from origin, right? Then you want to show in Finder. And then if you open up this folder, this is the new folder that we want to have all of our stuff in, okay? So inside the patterns folder, you should have a folder with your stuff. You want to put all of your stuff in your own folder. And if you want to like edit your stuff, for instance, you can just double click the scene. And that won't actually work, my mistake. Close this, fine. Okay, don't worry about that. You want to open up the project file itself. So project.godot will open up the project. And then if you want to edit your scenes, the best thing to do is to go to your folder, right? Go to your individual folder and then edit these particular scenes, okay? I've also added a plugin that should make it possible to pretend to use some XR while just using the regular computer. So for instance, if I just hit run project right now, it's gonna give this alert because we're not actually connected to a headset. That's okay, you just hit okay. And now we have, this is the bubble scene that we just saw, right? And we can kind of see, we can look around. Problem is we can't do hand stuff, but I believe you can move controllers and stuff. So this is a little bit of a better way to be able to see some of the things that you're working on without having to plug in an actual headset. And again, if you want to run your individual scene, right, I just recommend opening up your scene and then just running the scene itself. So you can do run current scene, and that's okay. And then you can run the scene itself. Okay. The final thing I'll tell you is that there is a handy scene. If you want to have the hand tracking stuff, if you just want to use what I already have, the easiest way to do that is to use an instance of a scene that I've already created. You can either use these nodes, this XR camera, these 4 nodes, the origin, the camera, the left controller, and the right controller. These are good at tracking the controllers themselves. So if you just want to use like XR controllers, you can do this stuff. I would just copy and paste these nodes. But if you want to use hand tracking, you can, let me see, I'll go back and I'll rename it so that it's a little bit clearer. Where'd it go? There's this scene called XR Basics, basically, and that is inside the components folder. I'm going to rename it XR Basics with hands, so it makes a little bit more sense. With hands. I'll save that. So for instance, if you wanted to, if you had a scene, let's say I'm working on my poetic expression, right? So here I am, I'm me. I'm gonna go inside that folder. I'm gonna open my poetic expression scene. I'm gonna delete these guys. Delete nodes. That's okay. But if I want to have the XR Basics with hand tracking, you can just instantiate an inherited scene, which you can either do by scene and do let's see. You can right-click on the root node and do instantiate child scene. Sorry, instantiate a child scene. Or you can just do Shift-Command-A. And this is going to load in a scene that we already have. And so we have this scene called XR Hands. These basics, this XR Basics with hands. And this is going to load in this scene. And you'll see now that we have this little scene with hands. And so if we were to run this scene on the headset, it would work with hands. Cool? And we can also see, here it is in the editor. There are hands somewhere. They're probably just in the cubes.
Wait, so this is like, the hands is something you, wait, I'm confused on where they came from originally.
Yeah, so I made a scene called XR Origin, called XR Basics with Hands. And the way basically, if you really want to actually make hand tracking yourself, you totally can. You just want to follow these steps. You basically need a node called, the node itself is called XR Hand. It's Open XR Hand.
This is like the rigging thing.
Exactly. This is the Open XR Hand, and you point it to a skeleton of a hand mesh. Mm-hmm. So here's this one that I made, or that I just stole. I didn't make this. So you just point each hand tracker node to a skeleton of a hand, and that's kind of all you need to do. You need to say you want to have the hand tracker, and you want to specify which hand it is, and then you want to pick which skeleton it's looking at and controlling. Yeah, and these hands are also just here in the scene itself. So if you wanted to kind of like make your own kind of custom hand tracking stuff, you could easily just like take all of this stuff and right click and just do copy. Oops, nope. That was probably bad. Why did I do that? Let's do this. Let's do right click. Let's see. I'm going to highlight all this stuff. I'm going to right click and hit copy, not cut. And then if I were to make a new scene and just paste this into the scene, it didn't quite work. But you can do make local, right? So then this is all the stuff. These are the nodes itself that you can mess with and play around with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions about how to do this sort of hand tracking stuff or how to work with the repository? So again, I'm going to push the latest changes. I'll call it renamed XR hand or XR basics. I'll commit to main and push to origin. And so what you guys should do is open up this repository, fetch from origin, and start bringing in whatever work you want into your scenes in your proper folders. Cool? And also, if you really want to mess around, right, if you are really trying to like experiment and do stuff, you can either create a different branch of the repository, or you can just do your own work in your own repository for now, and that's also fine. So long as by the end of next week, we can get everything into these folders. Cool? Cool. So who wants to, so go ahead and start just doing stuff, right? And I'll float around and check in with whoever wants to check in or whoever needs help.